Hello everyone. Today I'm painting one of my followers, Vapehav. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's won a free commission on Instagram. I'm going to leave his Instagram handle in the description box below. For the commission price, it was a portrait, and Vapehav wanted me to draw a portrait of him in my style. So as always, I started with a sketch, and the sketch is actually also my line art. Only recently I've started to clean up my sketch instead of creating a separate layer with line art, because when I used to draw line art on a separate layer, it would lose some of those quirks and details that my sketch had that I really liked. So cleaning it up instead was my solution to this problem. Though I think I've taken it a bit too far. I'll show you some of the examples on the screen right now of how my sketches look. As you can see, I sort of render my sketch in grayscale, so it appears three-dimensional. So by the time I'm done with that, it's like 50% of my work is done. It helps me to see if the composition works and that it resembles the character or a person, in this case, that I'm drawing. So I like to smooth out some of the lines. Sometimes I blend them out completely to where they just appear as a shadow. Basically, the things that I'm blending out is usually where the shadows would fall. For example, the chin and the jawline, I leave the hard edge at the bottom and I blend upwards, so it appears three-dimensional. I do that for the nose, for the lips, for the eyes, basically for everything. To blend out my line art, I use a round brush made by Sam Does Arts, but the alternative would be in Procreate, a hard blend. It has a similar effect, but personally I like the one that is made by Sam. I would say that my line art is the most important part of my painting process, because I put about 50 to 60% of my time just perfecting it. It's a very time-consuming process for me, and to be honest, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I'm always in love with the end result, so I guess it doesn't matter how long it takes you, as long as you're pleased with the finished product. Also, the hair is part of my line art. Every time I would make a drawing, the hair is always something that I hate about my painting. But I figured out if I draw the hair strands in my line art, it makes it easier for me to later color it in and add shadows and highlights without me being confused with all the layers and it looking like a total mess. To render out the hair, I use the brush called Sketch Lesson. It's a free brush on an app called Brushes for Procreate. So here I am starting to do color blocking. The first layer that I make is the general silhouette of the whole character. I like to organize my layers and keep everything separate, so it's easier to work with, and if you make a mistake, it'll be easier to fix. I don't always name my layers, but for the purpose of this video I did. It's just to show how I arrange my layers, and the order of them usually matters a lot. I forgot to mention, when I start color blocking, I like to set my background as a gray color, because the white color always throws me off, and the values of the colors that I pick are lighter than they're supposed to be, because white color is visually a very strong color, so I tend to gravitate towards lighter colors when it's a white background. And I also set my line art as a soft light layer. It automatically matches the line art color with the base color that you place, so you don't have to do it manually. I wonder how many times did I flip my canvas while painting this. Maybe I'll put a little countdown somewhere on the screen. Just it would be fun to see. I never really counted, but I flip my screen a lot. It's a great tool to use for spotting mistakes that you make from a different perspective, so if you don't use it, I highly recommend to flip your canvas more often. Colors are hard, man. I thought I was picking the right skin tone for this portrait, but as you can see, I'm adjusting it and it's actually supposed to be much darker. I'm also not really used to painting darker skin tones. I've been experimenting with it lately, and I think it's much harder to paint than light skin, so this was definitely good practice for me. So here I am starting to put down my shadows. I use a multiply layer to apply all of my shadows. This is just me putting general shapes of it. The color that I picked is very pale red, like light pink, I would say, and it gives a very nice saturated color to the skin tone. I even use it for the shirt and hair over here too, and sometimes I can use a more purple-ish tone to give a more rich color to the darkest and deepest shadows. When I draw shadows, I like to create multiple multiply layers as a clipping mask, and then combine them later when I'm satisfied with what I've drawn. It's just so that I don't accidentally erase something that I've already drawn that I like, that I approve. So here I'm just placing some subtle highlights on the soft light layer to bring out those bright areas on the face. For lighting reference and pose reference, I like to use a 3D model app called Magic Poser or Art Pose Pro. You can create custom poses and custom lighting scenarios, so I recommend checking it out. So here I've created another multiply layer to deepen the darker shadows, and I use a light grayish pink color for this. For brighter highlights, I use Add Layer. Add Layer is really good for painting sunlight, especially on the skin, and you blend it out. It gives an illusion of subsurface scattering, so where the edge of your highlight is, it becomes saturated red. I'm not painting direct sunlight in this piece, but I still use it for the reflection in the eyes and the nose and lips, and also the highlights on the hair. What I'm doing right now, I'm later going to erase because I didn't like the way it looked. I was using the reference that VapeHav gave me, and I realized that it didn't match the direction of the lighting that I was going for, so yeah, you're gonna see me erase it in a little bit. Another important thing is to keep the direction of lighting consistent. So if the light is coming directly straight at the face, like in this piece, I have to make sure that it also has the same angle for the hair. And in the reference, the lighting was coming from the side, so that's why it didn't work. Painting hair is still the least favorite thing for me to paint, but I try to fake it till I make it look like it resembles hair. So here I'm adding a complementary color in the background to the yellow orangey color that I have on the shirt to make it more visually pleasing. Purple is my favorite color, so whenever I get a chance, I try to put this color in every piece I make. Here I am redoing the highlights on the hair because, as I said before, it didn't match the direction of the light source. At this point in painting, I thought I was finished with my piece, but I took a little break and I came back and realized I can add even more details because that does not look complete yet to me. Here it looks like someone turned off the lights in the room, but I think it's a third or a fourth multiply layer that I've created, and I put the whole character in the shadow, and I'm erasing away the spots that are facing towards the light, and then I'm adjusting the brightness and the saturation of the color, and I also adjusted the color so it would be a light purple lilac color on the multiply layer. Here I'm adding room lighting that is coming from behind and slightly below the character, and I used a hard blending mode in the beginning, but then I switched to a linear light blending mode. And from the right side I am also adding another light source. It's coming from the right and slightly above the character. Adding multiple light sources makes it more visually interesting to look at, and it really defines the three-dimensional aspect of the subject. And of course I'm adding those same colors as the light in the background, as it's casting its light on the wall behind the character, and it's the opposite side of the direction that is coming from. And this concludes this painting process video. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my process and maybe you learned something. And if you have any questions or suggestions for another video, please let me know down in the comments below.